the Taurus CAT Tier A Premium British S-Tank. I mean, it's not as pervasive as double barrels per se, but we have Germans, we have Russians, and now British S-Tanks. Next up would be like a French S-Tank, but that's not gonna happen. The French doesn't copy anybody, and nobody copies the French. So not the first time we're covering this vehicle. This thing appeared on Holiday Ops for the Russian server last year, but this thing is Assault tank destroyer on the Russian server. Our version is a Autoloader sniper of a S-Tank with the same tumor on top, but definitely not as strong of an armor. Our version at best is about 51mm sloped, but the Russian server is 120, similar to the object 𝗧ঁ or bush, but still having the disgusting tumor on top, like with a 59 patent or so, right? It's a periscope with the little mini turret on top too. It's like a 50mm autocannon, but you cannot use it to shoot down aircrafts or cars for that matter. But yeah, Autoloader 105 for an S-Tank. It's like a Windhound except 4 rounds in the clip. So 1280 alpha burst in 6 seconds after firing the first shot, but that is pretty good considering it's an S-Tank with 320 alpha, right? That's about the same reload time as a T69 except bigger caliber, more alpha on an S-Tank. Downside to it is the tumor on top. So you're getting shot back if you're getting spotted after firing camo, but I guess it's okay. It's a little bit different than a AT-15 or turtle playstyle, but you have snipers, right? You have the Nomad, which is a premium version of a charioteer, or I guess the GSOR 1008 is not exactly a sniper. It's more like a medium tank, unless you're spamming gold shell with that thing, with the APCR gold shell. But yeah, you're practically playing with the Nomad for a sniping role. Alright, that's fine. So our version looks more dented and scratched compared to the Russian server version on the textural model. So on the side skirts, on the actual body, there are a lot more scratches on the vehicle chassis. So it's actually pristine on the Russian server. And their version is still tier 8, but it's classified as assault, not a sniper. And still having the cupola on top. The gigantic tumor, but their tumor is actually thick. So their tumor is like 250 or something, which is funny for the tumor on top of the S-Tank, but yeah. Let's actually take a look at the stats. 320 alpha, 280mm of pen. There is a nerf to shell velocity and some of the other stuff. We'll cover it, but originally the shell velocity is very quick for APCR. We'll talk about the nerf coming up, but it just happened with the first iteration of the nerf. But still, 4 rounds in the clip, 2 seconds between each shot, 24 seconds of reload. That's actually a very good DPM for an autoloader, even though the alpha is not that high. So you get an accuracy bonus similar to the S1 in siege mode, but surprisingly there's no aim time bonus unless they did not mention it for the siege mode aim time. But 1 second to go into siege mode, 1 second to get out of it is very quick compared to like 2 seconds and 1.5 for coming out. So that's very quick. 10 degrees of gun depression and elevation in siege mode, 50 rounds divided by 4 is not even. What? Is it really 50 rounds? 50 cannot divide by 4, right? My math is still right. You're missing 2 shells. It's like the FAMAS. You're FAMASing. Okay. 3-man crew, similar to all the other S-Tanks. It's surprisingly nimble. 65 kilometers per hour top speed and 22.6 horsepower per ton ratio. That is pretty good for an S-Tank base. It's similar to the Germans in a sense, like the Windhund or Kampfpanzer 07 HK thing. So a little bit more mobile than the actual S-Tanks for the Swedes. Hull traverse not bad. Turret traverse is more moving up and down the gun or so. 1,150 hit points, as is what you would expect. 51mm of hull armor, not the greatest. So sniping, it's not the Russian server version. And about 19% camo. Definitely not as good as the 24% or so on the S1, but still a little bit better than the Bush, than the 𝗧𝘂𝗿𝘂𝘀. The Russian version with sub 2000 DPM. God, that thing sucks. I hate it. Everything you love about the S-Tank is gone on that thing. A little bit better view range by 10 meters compared to the actual S-Tanks. And same garbage radio. I think this is the same radio effect on the Bush. But yeah, it's pretty crap. So there's actually a lore as well. A project for promising tank for the Royal Armor Corps in 1968. Combat arm tank, just combat arm for the Russian server version. But just use the Centurion. You already have the Centurion, use the Centurion, right? So you also exported the Centurion to the Swedes. So no need for the S-Tank, but multiple mechanic, autoloader with siege mode, which is crazy. Also premium as well. So high velocity 105. They nerfed it. So we'll take a look at the nerf right now, but it's not 1,400 meters per second. That is very good for a tier 8 shell velocity. So you don't have to lead the shot as much, but they actually put a rammer on this thing originally. Yeah, I cannot put a rammer on autoloader. That's funny. Aim time in siege mode is 2 seconds. So not the fastest to aim, right? It's also about the same as inter-shell reload of 2 seconds, but it still takes a little bit longer, so you're not fully aimed per shot with the autoloader somewhat. But buffing the dispersion after shooting, which is good. Nerfing the pin. Oh no. I mean, 265 is still okay, but 280 is very good for a tier 8 tank destroyer. A little bit at a distance, fine. But shell velocity got a big hit by 300 meters per second. So about 1 Mach down, which is kind of crazy. So 1,175 is fine for APCR, but that is real quick for original shell velocity. So yeah, it's interesting, right? It's like playing with a Windhund, except you have 1 more shell, which is not a bad trade-off when you think about it. The Windhund, I don't like it as much as the actual S1, simply because the alpha compared to the actual 390 is not the greatest. It has more mobility in siege mode, so yeah, horsepower per ton ratio is not bad. But this thing has 65. It's 65 kilometers per hour top speed with 1 second into siege and 1 second going out of it, which is crazy, right? So yeah, this is 2 seconds to go into siege and 1.5 to come out of it. So definitely more mobile than a Windhund, but yeah, okay. I have camouflage net, so it's skewed, but yeah, DPM is surprisingly high. I have a rammer, and this thing has about the same DPM with not a rammer, right? Compared to a rammered Windhund. So yeah, same alpha, just interesting. The Windhund doesn't have armor, so this thing is not exactly well sloped for the 50 millimeters. And not exactly. So you'll pin this thing, even though it has space armor for the upper plate. You'll get pinned. It's also not a premium, by the way. So Imagine playing this thing with better top speed and 3 more rounds to jam out of the gun, which is great when you think about it, right? The downside to it is you get a tumor on top and worse camo, but actually, does it have worse camo? I wonder. Windhound, it has better camo than the Bush. I know that for certain. Object 𝗧𝘂𝘂𝘀𝘂, oh, the piece of crap, sub 2000 DPM, garbage. It's also not even 18% camo. Worse view range, same freaking radio that sucks. At least it gets better aim time and accuracy in siege mode, but it gets so slow in siege mode. That's why I remember putting turbocharger on this thing to help out with the siege mode top speed, but do we get to see the actual siege mode top speed? But you already know this thing. R2D2 cupola, terrible on top. Even though it's 110 sloped, yeah, that's fine. Jam it through the crevice next to the gun, or the R2D2 with high explosive. Sub 2000 DPM. Just play the SU-130 PM. Why the hell will you get this thing, right? Ugh, gross, vomit, atrocious. So, yeah, Taurus CA has better camo. Yeah, faster into siege and coming out of it. How fast is the siege mode on the... They don't put siege mode timer on Tanks.gg. I have to go look it up. There's the piece of crap. How fast is your siege mode? 2 seconds into siege. 2 seconds out of it. About 19... I have turbocharger on. That's why it's 19. It's not nearly as good without the turbocharger. But, oh god, this is a piece of work of a vehicle. I hate it. Yeah, I have turbocharger on this thing. So, yeah, let's take a look at the Russian server version while we're at it. So, this version is a assault tank destroyer, not a sniper. Our version is a sniper with Autoloader. For the Russians, they have a stronger cupola. The cupola is 225. It's not 250. It's about 225 to 240, 280 on some crevice, 500. Okay. So, yeah, the cupola is definitely much stronger than our cupola of like 50. Yeah, upper plate is 120, sloped. There is a bulge for... I guess that's your driver in the front, right? That should be the driver. The commander's right here. And the radio operator is in the back. But yeah, the British drives on the wrong side of the road. It should be like right here. Oh, it doesn't matter. But yeah, the armor is much better on the Russian server version with about the same DPM, right? So it's still the 105, the L7, yep. But yeah, their shell velocity should be about the same or so. Only 8 degrees of gun depression compared to our 10. Has a lot more health, not as fast. Definitely not nearly as fast as 22 horsepower per ton. So trading horsepower per ton for armor and the top speed is crap, 30 compared to 65. That is not great. It's a pseudo siege mode. It's not a fully siege mode. There's no entering siege mode with this vehicle, even though it has the logo. So it's similar to the medium tanks. That is interesting. You play this thing like a Swedish medium tank, except you cannot move the gun about. That is funny. So that's the reason why. That is the reason why it doesn't have the little icon next to the name on Tanks.gg. Similar to like a S1. In siege mode, you get a difference in aim time and accuracy and top speed, but the Taurus CA on the Russian server doesn't have it. So they play it like a UDES 1516 or something like that. It doesn't have a siege mode, only a pseudo siege mode for the Hydro-Max suspension at low speed. That is interesting, right? It play it like a assault tank destroyer, like a AT-15 or Turtle, but that is neat. Slight difference. slight, but there's no siege mode. Has more health and better armor, but a lot slower. A lot slower in comparison to our version. 65 and about 22.5, that is crazy fast compared to like 30 kilometers per hour top speed and like 14.5 or something. Alright. Yeah, no no cube armor on this thing. The best, 76. So, I mean, it's about 50-ish, I think, on the upper plate, but depending on angle, right? That's not a bad angle, though. That's a lot better than the Windhoon, definitely. But the tumor spoils it, right? The tumor sucks. Does have side skirts on the hull sides, I guess. I don't know how you like the Windhoon, but this thing should be a lot better than a Windhoon. In essence of a damage-dealing sniper. But yeah, they nerfed the shell velocity, nerfed the pen, kept the DPM and the alpha. It's not a bad high explosive round. It's a HESH round with that penetration. Theoretically, you could pick some high explosive. It's, yeah, 56 rounds, divisible by 4. It give you 50 rounds. That's not divisible by 4. Yeah, as far as a HESH, you could carry like 4 rounds of HESH or 8 rounds of HESH and use it for special situations, which is not bad. But yeah, this thing, we spent a lot of time talking about it, but it's like a Windhoon, I think, except a little bit more devastating for damage dealing aspect, and definitely a lot better than the Bush, the 𝗧𝘂𝗿𝘂𝘀. So yeah, I don't recommend the Bush. No, don't. And you could get the Windhoon for free, technically. So yeah, Windhoon has better camo. Definitely better camo. Not as good horsepower per tow ratio or top speed. 50 kilometers per hour top speed seems kind of insufficient, right? Compared to 65. So it does have a little bit more health than the Taurus CA, but shell velocity is about the same. 105. So I feel like if you like the voice crack, I feel like if you like the S1, but you want better mobility, or if you like the Germans, if you like better mobility for your S tank at the cost of camo, definitely choose this vehicle. The downside to it is you cannot bounce as many shots like a 90mm or below with the Taurus CA. So the armor is definitely not as good, but you have more firepower, so you can jam out more shots. Therefore, rely more on your teammates or a good scout to dish the damage. But equipment-wise, no more rammer. I would say if it's 0.35 in siege mode for the accuracy, go with better accuracy, improve aiming, and definitely view range and camouflage nets. The classic sniper camo setup, but this is relic of the past. This is what you use for equipment 1.0, not 2.0, right? The classic. You camp in a bush with camouflage nets and binoculars, spotting for yourself, but it's still a good pickup. You could swap for like coated optics and turbocharger, but that's up to you. Or low exhaust, constant camo buff, then stationary camo buff, but that's up to you. But I like the classic setup. I put this on mostly all my snipers other than highly mobile ones like this thing with the turbocharger. This thing has vents. Okay, it's mostly for the wonkiness of the accuracy. Yeah, okay, fine. This is not a sniper. This is not a sniper. This is more like versatile. So field mods wise, no brainer for a tier 8, but first one is obviously more track health, better effective traverse, yeah, better accuracy. Aim time's already fine, I think. Might be. If they nerf it from like 1.7 to like 2, you're not fully aimed after you fired the first shot. So accuracy could use help though. Aim time could also be sub 2. Well, then again, if it's like 0.2 of a second. I don't think it matters that much unless the target is moving rapidly about. So I would still go with better accuracy in siege mode. Accuracy in siege mode like 0.35 or something. So I would say better accuracy still, right? How about with the better accuracy? And you are red line sniping. You are back of the line sniping. You're not close range based on the tumor. So better view range. Better. Camo after firing is okay for autoloaders, but yeah, this thing has 4%, which is okay, but you'll get spotted if you're close range still. I would say better view range. So overall, this is a weird vehicle when you think about it. It's an autoloader version of Assault without armor. The mobility is surprising. No question, mobility is surprising for an S-Tank. I will really like this mobility on the actual S1. I will give anything for this mobility on the S1. That would be crazy. But yeah, the S1 is more about being in the bush and they cannot even spot you if you have a good crew, right? The concealment on this thing is nuts, especially with a camouflage net. So yeah, mobility is not that bad, but it's not great, right? The Taurus CA has 6 more horsepower per ton, which is insane, and 15 kilometers per hour top speed with 1 second to switch and 1 second to come back. The downside to it is the reverse speed is not the fastest. At turning in a circle, turn 180 degrees and run away normally. Don't run away backwards, alright? Yeah, the reverse speed is not as good as actual S-Tank, driving forwards and backwards at the same speed. But it just turned. So mobility is surprising. Firepower is surprising without the rammer, right? It does need some buff, especially from equipments to the accuracy. 0.35 is not great. So also 2 seconds of aim time is longer than the intra-shell reload time, but it's better than the bush. It's definitely better than the bush. You can have your actual DPM with something like this, right? With better mobility. Either give this thing better DPM or remove the R2-D2. This vehicle sucks. You hate playing this thing if you're used to the actual S-Tanks, but I'm spending way too much time on this video simply because I love my S-Tanks. This thing is also amazing, right? Good camo, decent mobility, large caliber gun, even though the alpha is about the same. But I would say for how deadly the autoloader is and the mobility of it, right? I would say for our version of a Taurus CA, even though there's a tumor, if you're spamming, well, 𝗂𝘂𝘀 is slower shell velocity. I feel it's fine. For how much damage burst you can jam out of this thing, if you have a good crew with the better accuracy, I feel you can actually get some of the sniper personal mission set number 3 done, right? That requires you to play snipers or autoloaders or support. So you have the benefits of both worlds into one vehicle when you think about it. So some of the mission requires you to like deal X amount of damage within 4 minutes of the battle. Something like 3,000 damage or 2,000 damage. If you have one of this vehicle, right, you have the benefits of both, of the autoloader and the sniper to help out with the personal mission set. So I think on that front, it's a pretty decent vehicle, but it's a sniper role for the Brits where the only current candidate is more or less the Charioteer or the GSOR 1008, but GSOR 1008 is notorious for gold spamming, not exactly for sniping, right? The accuracy is okay, but dispersion while moving the gun is kind of horrendous on this thing. So we're missing a sniper for the Brits at tier 8. I think this could work, but you have to be very keen to the actual siege mode. But in all aspects of playing with siege mode, this is very good. 1 second in, 1 second out, high mobility, surprising burst damage, I would say 6.5. But then again, I'm biased because I love my S tanks. I would say 6.5, but you will need a well open map, open field map. This vehicle is terrible on stuff like Himmelsdorf, no question. And based on the map trends, if you don't have an open field map, I guess you could still surprise people with the amount of damage burst out of this thing, but this would be good in front lines when you think about it. Well, there you go, folks. I spent way too much time yammering and yapping. So, not a bad vehicle, but then again, I'm biased for S-Tanks. So, it's up to you if you want to pick this thing up, but obviously be aware of the tumor on top, right? But as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.